Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything, we got a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in double feature podcast. Like I was just out and about and people are like there's these people just like in an alleyway and I'm just like, what's going on in there? And they're just like whispering into each other and saying,
Don't
did you
go in there.
well, I had to make sure everybody was safe.
hmm
And they're just like, oh my god, did you hear that the Drive-In Double Feature Patreon has new pre-episode bonus content, like where they actually talk what they talk about before they record. It's
hmm
really insightful stuff. And they're like, yeah, I would pay $5 for that. And they handed some guys slipped him a $5 in a little bag with our web address in there. And you know what? It was perfect. So
Okay. All right. There's some weird stuff going on in this world. I guess maybe am I more famous than I think?
yeah, you need to get out more.
I guess so.
But anyway, that's you can hear all kinds of bonus content over there at our Patreon. It's only $5 a month. It doesn't affect any regular content whatsoever. But today we're going to be talking about 1978, The Eyes of Laura Mars, and that's directed by Irvin Kershner. And this is starring Faye Dunaway, a very, I guess, late in her career, Faye Dunaway, I guess, because she was like a
Which is
lot
so
more
funny to
popular
say.
because it's like the late 70s. So this is like kind of like
Mhm.
star is fading, Faye Dunaway a little bit, not to be mean, but
No, but,
uh,
but you're not wrong because her career is really interesting.
yeah, she's got a very interesting career, and supposedly she didn't have the best reputation
Mhm.
on set, and this one being no exception either. Um, but this one is, I would say, how they describe it or how I've seen it described is that this is an American version of an Italian giallo movie.
hmm
And I think that's fair. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I mean,
Yeah.
it's they do have the violent scenes, not as violent as you'd see from giallo movies, but it is a step above other thriller movies, I would say, at the time. And there is a light supernatural element to this movie as well.
hmm
And they don't really explain how that supernatural element, do they?
No, they don't. That's what I found interesting about this movie is because like I feel like a lot of movies feel like they're obligated to tell you like how this has happened, why they're doing this. And this one, it's just like, oh, Faye Dunaway has like this supernatural psychic ability, and it just happens randomly and the no for nothing, which is fine, I guess. I don't have an issue with it.
No, I mean, I just was just thinking when I was sitting here thinking, I was like, I don't think they ever explained that, and
No.
they don't. So, which is fine. I mean, I'm not really doesn't really hinder the plot any, but what her power is that she can see through the eyes of a killer, and every time this killer commits a murder, she can visualize this kill happen. And she's a famous photographer for fashion magazines or for art, really, for art galleries.
hmm
And she recreates these famous murder scenes as art. And that's
Well,
kind of like,
she also she makes up murder scenes that end up being the murders later in the movie. Right.
well, yeah, well, the reason why she gets under the radar of the police is because they look at her photos and then they look at the crime scene photos and they're like, how are you able, like these were photos were not released to the public, so how do you know how did that look like this?
hmm
And she's just like, just didn't want to say. uh,
Exactly.
but the whole movie is like she's a famous photographer, she's in the art world, and I think it's funny because that just to show you how little like dated the movie is just
hmm
talking about how people think like photography is like a fad in the art world.
Yeah, right.
They're just like, this new fad of photography is trying to sell salacious photos in this world, and many art critics are not a fan of it.
Yeah. It's which is silly, which is so odd. I wonder when the script was written, because we got to talk about it. I saw this when I saw the opening credits, written by John Carpenter, and I actually didn't know that. I looked it up to see if it was the John Carpenter, and yes, John Carpenter wrote the original script to this movie.
Yeah, and it was originally just called Eyes,
Yes.
and but as far as like the finished product goes, it's not. He almost had nothing to do with it because his script was purchased, and then once the script was purchased, they came in and did their own revisions to it. So
Yeah.
it's not 100% John Carpenter. You know, his some of the blueprints are there. You know, he laid the foundation down, but
Mm-hmm.
from what they said, like the finished product is not very close to how he wrote the movie.
Gotcha.
Um, but yeah, like how it starts out is that she is really big in the art world, and she's been seeing these murders happen. And the problem is like some of the murders she's happened recently are people that she knows,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really been freaking her out. And she's being followed by a police officer, played by Tommy Lee Jones, and this is like supposed to be like early Tommy Lee Jones, where he's like in his 30s, so he's supposed to be like the good-looking love
Yeah,
interest in this movie.
young and handsome Tommy Lee Jones. The two words I didn't know would be tagged to his
Yeah,
name.
I mean, when you see TommyLee Jones, you're just thinking like, yeah, what?
Woo!
Yeah,
Yeah, woo, yeah. When I saw Men in Black for the first time.
exactly. Everyone was drooling over him, but
Yeah. But no, it's so weird to see
especially in
him.
Lincoln.
Yeah, especially in Lincoln. Now it's so weird to see him with like the thick head of hair. He has such long hair in this movie. His introduction's so odd because Laura Mars, the lead character, is showing off her photos, which is like, murder scenes, naked women, kind of mixing sex and murder. And Tommy Lee Jones is there, and he's just like, I don't like this. I want to speak to Laura. And then, do you know her, ma'am? And she's like, oh, I kind of know her. No, sorry. She says, I know her very well. And it's like, we've seen
Yeah,
this scene before in a
and
million
well, yeah, she's
movies.
like, she seems like a real troubled individual, and she's like,
Yeah.
no, she's nothing like that at all.
Hmm. And then, of course, it's revealed, oh, she is Laura Mars.
Yeah,
Um, is
but
it?
he knew all along. He did know all along. He so
Yeah, yes, he did know all along. I guess we can spoil that. I because I got to talk about it
well,
since oh, go
well,
ahead.
no, they do. I know you're saying in the end of the movie,
Okay, yeah.
but they do reveal that because when they go down to the police station, she's like, "Oh, you knew." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, because your photos were really
That's right.
triggering
Because
off her.
he even has a book. Well, sorry, that book is from a murder scene. Um,
Right.
yeah, because what happens is she just there's parts of this movie that I think are really interesting because she talks about later on in the movie how she sees these murders, and it's like there's a camera and a TV, and she's like, imagine that like you're looking through that camera at that POV, and that's how I see things. She can't see anything else. She doesn't know her surroundings, but she can see the murderer committing the kill. And I think that's actually a really interesting concept. I wish they played with it more though.
Yeah, that's this movie is pretty frustrating for me
Yeah.
because I totally agree. It's like they had such an interesting premise where it's like
Yeah.
she has this supernatural ability where she can actually see a murder being committed, and she doesn't even have to be in the room to see it happen. She can see
Hmm.
the killer's POV, and I just don't. It just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, and it's just not very fun either. At the very end of the movie, she sees who the killer is, and I was like, "Oh, I'm waiting for this scene because this is going to be cool." She's going to have to navigate the house through someone else's point of view. She doesn't really do that. She kind of does, but it's all in one room. I thought it'd be interesting if she like ran away and it was like, oh, I have to look at it through my killer's view. It
Yeah,
doesn't play enough with it. I don't know. I agree. The movie. So I actually like this movie, like concept and some of the story beats, but frustrating is the correct word for it. I think. I don't think it does enough.
I it was good overall, I would
Hmm.
say, but I just like I said, I was a little let down by it, just by the whole premise alone, where I was thinking like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, this is gonna be a really cool concept, and they're really gonna be
Hmm.
able to do a lot with this, but I really don't think they do with it. And and this may be because of its time, but the killer is so obvious in this one.
Yeah, I was really hoping it would do something else. And they tried. So there's the character played by Raul Julia, who I was surprised played such a tiny role in this movie. Which for him, that's just really surprising. Who's Laura Mars's ex husband, and he's
Mm-hmm.
back in town, and he's kind of fumbling around, getting drunk. He's being like a nuisance around town, and the movie I think really wants you to think he's the red herring. It's like he's the bad guy, he's killing. But oh, go ahead.
Well, no, there's the other red. There's like two red herrings in this movie.
That is true. There's a lot going on, but the whole time, ever since I saw Tommy Lee Jones at the art gallery, I knew he was the killer. The spoilers, I know, but it's so obvious. I was just like, okay, I know why else would
Yeah,
he be here making these statements?
yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I was like, okay, it's gonna be Tommy Lee Jones, but I'm like, maybe the movie's gonna surprise me,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. So, like you said, they really want you to believe that it's not him because they
Mhm.
go in and it's like, oh, it's Raul Julia, and then, but like the real like red herring, I think they're trying to set up is the Brad Dourif's character. Um,
Yeah, maybe I didn't even notice that as a red herring because I was like, he's not it. It's just not going to be it.
well, I mean, they were pushing really hard because they're like, he's crazy, he's got a record,
Hmm.
because and even he kind of acts like really erratic in the
Yeah, he's
movie.
dodgy.
So they're like, hey, we really need to do, because even in the movie they're like, we got Tommy, he's arrested, like, or whatever, and
Mhm.
it's like, okay, who I can breathe a sigh of relief, and of course that's not how the movie actually ends.
No, of course not. Yeah, it's that character is so weird. It's Brad Dourif, who I guess is also in it. I mean, Brad Dourif had a long, long career, but this is towards the end of like when he was kind of a prestige actor. Like he was actually like in like good movies before his like B movie shift at some point in his career.
What are you talking about? Chucky's an A movie.
Uh-huh, yeah. A piece of crap movie. No, I'm
Whoa.
just kidding. Also, it's Child's Play, Ryan.
Oh darn. Well, no, I was thinking of the TV series.
Oh, okay. That's a late career,
That was his
like
comeback.
Robert Forrester, like comeback. It's like, wow,
He's
he's
back.
actually
He's
so
back.
good.
He's back as Chucky. He's so great.
Yeah, how is he? Haven't they replaced him now? Or am I thinking of a different horror icon?
I don't know.
Whatever. But yeah, he's this driver. There's some funny bits in this movie because I like the idea. I think the photographer that shoots murder scenes kind of fun. There's a really fun scene where they literally close down a street in New York to take a picture of like burning cars and like
Yeah.
ladies fighting in front of the cars. Like, oh, that seemed like a giallo movie. Like in Italy, that would have been a scene. Like that would have been a huge scene.
Yeah. Nobody is bothered at all that they're just like shooting this right in the middle of like downtown New York City. Just like, oh, yeah, this is great. Just,
Yeah. That's kind of funny. I like her manager, who's kind of an eccentric guy. Um, they do something really stupid at one point in the movie where she's being followed by cops, and she's like, "Oh, I really need you to dress up as me and walk down the street, and then I go the other direction, so they follow you." Which is like, why? Why would you even do that? Why are you trying to get
well,
away from the cops?
I mean,
I
it
know
was obviously
why she is, but it's stupid.
it was really dumb because I saw that coming too. So I was like, okay, it's gonna be him and
Yes,
drag,
yeah.
and but there's like that really weird scene too where after the murder happens, like her manager confronts her. He's like, Laura, I blame you. We all blame you, Laura. This is your
That's
fault.
right. Yeah. Like that was at the funeral.
Yeah.
So funny. Um, yeah, one thing, this movie is a little too long for what it is, and I think it's padded out by my least favorite element, Tommy Lee Jones and Faye Dunaway's romance. So him and her have a romantic, like they kiss, they're dating, and it's so like Ugh, because like
It's
that's the best word, because like he's just like so lovey-dovey, like, oh, I can't be without
uh,
you. I love
oh
you.
my god, yeah, it's like they were all over each other and like they barely know each other,
Yeah,
and they're
he's like a cop. It's
and
so weird.
they're just he goes like, oh, I love you, baby. She's like, oh, I can't be with like that. It's that type of like love, like you said, where they're just like all over each other.
Yeah, and
And
like, and Tommy Lee Jones, for me, I like Tommy Lee Jones in the right role, and I just, something about this just didn't seem like he was the right fit for what they were trying to do with this character.
well, when it's finally revealed, so like I said, they do Tommy's out of the picture,
Hmm.
the Brad Dorff's character Tommy, and so you're like, okay, ooh, can breathe a sigh of relief now. And but when Laura is alone, she could see all these other murders happening, like in the elevator. She's like, no, they're still going on. He's headed to the elevator. He's headed to my room right now.
Yeah.
And then Tommy Lee Jones just breaks through the balcony window, and it's revealed, he's the killer, because he starts going into like this whole like, oh, like Laura, like he's just like moving his
Mhm.
hair back and everything, like trying to act
Yes.
crazy. And I don't buy Tommy Lee Jones as a crazy like
Not that kind of crazy
not
person.
that kind of crazy where it's just like I've completely lost my mind and like cuckoo
Hmm.
type of thing. Because I think they did it a lot better in like Dress to Kill with Michael
Hmm.
Caine when, oh, sorry, Dress to Kill spoilers if you haven't seen
Oh
it.
God.
But yeah, when they reveal the killer in that movie, it was a lot better, I thought. But it's just he's always very good as like this very stern character. I thought he's really great in The Fugitive,
Of course, yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
and he's really good in these type of like deadpan roles where it's just
Hmm.
like you're not expecting him to be really emote or anything like that. But
Hmm.
this one, it's like, okay, need you to ramp up the craziness here a little bit, Tommy, and I don't really think he does. And
No.
I'm gonna say this too. I, I mean, it sounds like I'm crapping on the movie, but I don't think Faye Dunaway is that great in this movie either.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really notice it. But she doesn't do anything special. Like, I'm looking back on it now, it's like, was there any big moment or moment where I was like, she's great? Not really,
I
no.
I just remember the scene where she's screaming for her manager, like Donna, and they
He,
do that a
she,
bunch.
she's ramping up for a mommy dearest.
Yeah, she's getting ready for Mommy Dearest.
Yeah, yeah. A long career, a big career move there. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, it's weird, yeah, because I'm crapping on this movie. There's a lot of elements I don't like, but I think some of it gets made up for in style, concept. The concept's there. It is shot nicely. I think it's cool for a movie from the 70s to be doing the POV shot of the killer, which is something that everyone credits. Oh, Friday the 13th did this. This is, but like this came out earlier and it has a lot of scenes in the first person. And the if I remember right, the music's pretty good. Uh, it's not a bad movie. It just is a
No,
very flawed movie. It's a movie that makes you go, I wish it did better because it could be a
well,
classic.
right, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Is that yeah, it's good for now for what it is. It's good,
Hmm.
but it could be a lot better. It could be a movie that has much more potential to it, and I think that's the part where we're just kind of like, yeah, I liked it, but I knew it could have been I could have been better executed.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's it. And like, I'm gonna give this one like a positive rating. I haven't rated on
Yeah,
Letterboxd yet. I give it a positive, but it's weird. I don't know if I would recommend it. It's like a weird ground I'm on because like I just don't, I don't know.
I personally I don't think it's anything special, just
Yeah.
as it is. So it's not one where I would say pretty much how I felt about what we said earlier with Rad. It's like, no, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it, but if you're looking for something that's, you know what, no, forget what I just said. I wouldn't give it a recommend.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to lean towards don't recommend. There's probably just better movies you could watch in general.
Exactly.
It might be the director's best movie. What do you make after this? The Empire Strikes Back. Huh.
What the hell is that?
That sounds stupid. Oh, RoboCop 2. Wait, hold on. He's made
Oh,
a better
okay.
movie.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Ooh.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
He
I love
redeemed himself.
RoboCop. Yeah. Well, I like the other two RoboCops.
Oh, RoboCop 3 the best.
Oh, it's so good. I've never seen
I have a double feature: Beverly Hills Cop 3 and RoboCop 3.
it. Oh God. What a miserable time.
It sounds like a great time to me. Might be in our future.
That would be
But
fun.
yeah, I think that's gonna do it though for this one. But Nathan, what are we gonna talk about next time?
All right, Ryan, we are going to be talking about 1971's See No Evil. And that one's going to be streaming over on Tubi.
Perfect. Can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
And to finish off that week on Thursday, Nathan, we are going to be talking about the movie Surf Ninjas.
Oh boy.
And that one is going to be streaming for free on Tubi as well.
Perfect. Well, I'm excited to watch that one, Ryan.
Oh, good. I'm glad you are. I know how much you love Rob Schneider. But
No, I
anyway,
just love Game Gears.
thank you so much for listening to this episode. We really do appreciate it. Once again, check out the Patreon over at patreon.com/Drive and Double Feature Podcast. Don't forget to email us over at Drive and Double Feature Podcast at gmail.com and follow us on X at DIDF Pod. But until next time.
Until next time.